Welcome to the Invite Health podcast, where our degreed healthcare professionals are excited to offer you the most important health and wellness information you need to make informed choices about your health. You can learn more about the products discussed in each of these episodes and all that Invite Health has to offer at www.invitehealth.com/podcast. First-time customers can use promo code podcast at checkout for an additional 15% off your first purchase. Let's get started.
We often talk about high blood pressure or hypertension, but it's rare that we address ocular hypertension. And I want to talk about eye pressure today because we get a lot of questions in regards to this. And a lot of people do experience pressure that they can noticeably tell within their eyes. And this is a problem because this can lead to issues such as glaucoma. And we know that glaucoma is one of the leading causes of blindness throughout the world. So I want to talk about different nutrients that can be supportive, different clinical research trials that have shown just how beneficial things such as omega-3 fatty acids can be for maintaining healthy eye pressure. So I am Amanda Williams, MD, MPH, and let's talk about ocular hypertension. This is oftentimes one of those areas where people overlook just how common this actually is. And I do like to address this because, as I mentioned, we get an awful lot of questions in regards to eye pressure and what people can be doing. So we can look at basic nutrients, obviously, that are going to support the eye itself. So we can look at all of the different carotenoids, vitamin C, NAC. We know that N-acetylcysteine is beneficial to bolster up glutathione levels and to support the optic nerve. But when we look at ocular hypertension, this is really a problem. And we see that an estimated 10% of Americans over the age of 40 years old have an increase in intraocular pressure. And this is an alarming amount of people because then we can look at the long-term effects of that and how that can lead to glaucoma. Now, oftentimes people who have high blood pressure will also have the risk of having ocular hypertension. So this is once again, a problem that certainly needs to be talked about because when we look at glaucoma, this is the second leading cause of irreversible blindness in the world. And we know that this particular disease, glaucoma, affects 5 million Americans over the age of 50 years old. So when we look at increased pressure in the front of the eye, and that's what we consider to be that intraocular pressure. This is a reason as to why the exacerbation that can lead to glaucoma, and it initially starts with the loss of peripheral vision, and then it starts to continue to progress and worsen until there is complete loss of vision. But we know that there are different antioxidants that really can help to support the pressure within the eye. We can look at coenzyme Q10, for example. We can look at pycnogenol, which you can find in our tocotrienol and pine bark extract formulation. So the eye itself, when we look at the anatomy of the eye, we recognize that it is spherical in structure. And we have the optic nerve that feeds into the back of the eye. And you have the retina, you have the ganglion cells, you have all of these different things that are required for transmitting electrical signals. And then we have the pressure that can start to impede upon this. And if the nerves that are feeding into, say, muscles of the eyes, this can start to be affected. And if we have this rise in intraocular pressure, then this is certainly a big problem. When we see that so many Americans have ocular hypertension, and it goes unaddressed, basically, because many people don't go in and, speak to their doctor until there is a point of just complete discomfort or complete visual loss, or you can see that something is clearly going wrong with your vision. But we know that many people who complain about ocular pressure, it's usually in that setting of feeling like the eye itself feel slightly painful. And this is something that is really much more common than we even realize. So I want to talk about a study that came out of the Translational Vision Science and Technology Journal that was looking at oral supplementation with omega-3 fatty acids and how this could be beneficial for lowering intraocular pressure. And this is in people who are considered to be normotensive. So people who have normal blood pressure. So when they put a blood pressure cuff on, the blood pressure comes back normal, but yet they still have higher intraocular pressure. So like I said, usually when someone has high blood pressure, you're more likely to see that intraocular pressure to be up. But we can also see intraocular pressures being elevated outside of high blood pressure. So in this particular study, they set up a pilot where they gave people who had elevated intraocular pressure omega-3 supplementation, so fish oil, for 3 months. And they wanted to assess the pressure within the eye. After the 3 months, they found a significant reduction in intraocular pressure. So when you look at people who have quote unquote ocular hypertension, looking at the omega-3 fatty acids and understanding once again that Americans in particular are certainly not obtaining enough of these essential fatty acids in terms of their diet to ease inflammation and to help to support proper functionality within the eye, then we can kind of take a step back and say, okay, yes, this all makes a lot of sense. Why it is that we have 10% of Americans over the age of 40 years old who fall into that category of having elevated eye pressure. So we can look at the reasons and we can see that diet is certainly playing a critical role into this. Now, understanding that antioxidants are one of our best defenses to this. So utilizing things within the macula advanced formulation, for example, where you're getting that broad spectrum of carotenoids and the N-acetylcysteine, as I had mentioned, with the bilberry extract in particular, we know those powerful polyphenols that are derived from those berry extracts that not only help to support proper pressure within the eye, but actually help to support the eye's ability to see in low light environments. So if someone's straining to see at night, for example, in a dim environment, this can actually drive up that pressure. So we want to be able to support the endothelial function within the vessels. We want to ease inflammation around those nerve roots, in particular looking at that optic nerve coming in. And this is also where your pine bark extract comes into play, because the pine bark extract we know is very beneficial for supporting that structural integrity within those tiny vessels and capillaries that do so much for feeding and nourishing the health and functionality within the eye itself. And there have been many different studies in the setting of glaucoma in particular with pine bark extract, and those proanthocyanidins were found to have numerous biological effects to really help to neutralize the free radicals that the eye is exposed to and to ease inflammation once again. So enhancing the endothelial function, so supporting that structural integrity, at the same time providing those powerful antioxidants to fend off all of the damaging things that the eye is exposed to. So all of these things are things that we want to be focused in on, no pun intended, but we definitely want to make sure that we incorporate in those powerful foods into our diet each and every single day. So having a good amount of omega-3 fatty acids in terms of dietary intake, but also when it comes to supplementation. This is really quite critical because at the end of the day, if you wait until something is really gone haywire with your eyes and that increased pressure in the eye is just driving up, leading to glaucoma. And oftentimes this can happen, that intraocular pressure can happen and you don't even have pain, but maybe you're starting to see some visual changes. You need to make sure that you go in and you have your eye pressure tested and that you always know. Because if your pressure is too high, you need to make sure that you're making those adjustments in diet as well as in supplementation to be proactive and not reactive to this, because we want to do everything in our power to avoid, number one, even getting ocular hypertension. But most importantly, we want to avoid in the future running into getting glaucoma. And this is why. Your foods matter and your supplements matter. So, and they're very simple things. We're talking vitamins, we're talking minerals, antioxidants, omega-3 fatty acids, so many beneficial things to support the pressure within your eye. So that is all that I have for you for today. I want to thank you so much for tuning in to the Invite Health podcast. Remember, you can find all of our episodes for free wherever you listen to podcasts or by visiting invitehealth.com/podcast. Now, do make sure that you subscribe and you leave us a review. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Invite Health, and we will see you next time for another episode of the Invite Health podcast.